Welcome to the Blind Android Users channel. This is your source for everything Android, tutorials and demos, all from a blindness perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this.
Hello and welcome to episode 83 of the Blind Android Users podcast. I'm Ed Green and I'm joined by my co-hosts Warren Carr, Austin Pinto, Fee Dunn and Doug Cameron. And we're coming to you on Saturday, the 9th of July, 2022. It's a busy episode for you this week. We have our normal announcement section. We then continue our Android Basics section and perambulate through the settings on our phones and its accessibility this time, about the most important setting that you will find. We then have highlights from Talkback, and we have two Android Journey sections for you this week. We have Dragos, Drecianu, and we have Sarah Linton. Well, how are we all doing, folks? Austin, how are you?
I'm good. Mumbai received a lot of rain and I had to take 2 days off of work. But the rain has calmed down now, so it's all good.
Oh, that's good. Warren, what's going on?
So I'm now a bachelor again. Just kidding. Anyway, I was supposed to be gone with my family to Ohio. Actually, they were going to drop me off in Iowa while they proceeded to Ohio. But somehow, the guy that was going to help us watch the dogs kind of chickened out. So here I am at home all alone, back in the days when I was single again. So I can be out here, just making noise all by myself. And I'm just kind of enjoying it. It's nice to be all by yourself again and not bothering anyone or thinking you're bothering anyone by making noises or whatever. And so I am home by myself, and I was going to be joining you guys from Iowa, but I'm joining you guys from Washington.
That's kind of wasted on you as well, because you don't even drink, do you? So being home
I
by
know,
yourself,
I could have drunken myself
chaos.
into a stupor, whatever.
Yeah.
But
That's kind
here
of
I
a
am.
wasted ticket. I think you should transfer that to me somehow, and I get to do that.
Actually,
but they've all gone to Idaho, have they? They've gone anyway.
They left on Tuesday. My wife likes to drive, and so they got there yesterday night. So it's quite a long drive, spending the night here and there, finally getting there last night. So they were going to drop me off there in Iowa, where I would be spending time with my friends. And then my friend said it was kind of too long. And so I decided, well, okay, I'll go and then come back on an airplane, one-way ticket, and maybe like back on the 15th. I tried to get the one-way ticket. It was like almost $700. And I'm like, hell no, it's not worth it, because I'm not going to spend all that money and then, only be there for like a few days. And so decided to just stay back home.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm remembering the song One Way Ticket.
Well, I was thinking about whether it was 24 hours from Tulsa.
Well, I like the song One Way Ticket. It's a beautiful country tune. Yeah.
iPhone, what's happening? Now you found your mute button?
Yeah. We've got a carnival going on not too far away, so I've been hearing that because it's a very warm day. It's about 28 degrees here, which I think is about 82 Fahrenheit or so. So it's quite warm, quite nice, and yeah, it's been lovely weather this week. But yeah, it might be getting a bit too warm in the next few days. But
I think it will.
But on balance, I like, this is my favourite time of year, so I'm happy.
Dugaboo, what's happening in Alberta?
Normal everyday cluster hell that we're experiencing with our politics. But it's been pretty warm over the last couple days, combined with fairly rainy, so I'm kind of liking it. Just keeping inside, keeping cool, cranking on AC, and doing some basic reorganizing.
Nice.
So it's pretty decent here.
Yeah. And how about our guest, Dragos? Where are you coming to us from?
I'm coming from the UK. I'm from Romania, but currently I'm in the UK. I'm in Kent. And well, I'm doing all right. A little sick, as you can definitely hear. And I was a little scared to join you guys today. I didn't exactly know how to go about it because I'm not exactly friends with the camera or being recorded or anything like that. But then I got my best friend here with me to calm me down a little bit.
Aw.
No, there's no need to be scared. It's good you got your best friend, mate. Where in Kent?
Swanscombe.
Cool. And we've got Sarah as well. How are you?
I'm good. I wasn't sure I was able to be here today. My husband is an antique seller, and I didn't know if he was gonna go selling today or not, but he decided to go, and so I thought, I would come on here with Dragos and just see what this was all about and contribute if I was asked, and I'm very glad to be here.
Well, that's very good, because if your husband hadn't gone selling antiques, Dragos would have had to tell us about you secondhand, wouldn't he?
Yep, that's right.
She would still
That's
have to be here, just maybe not say
I know.
anything.
Yeah.
She must,
Okay, fair.
otherwise she knows.
Oh,
You're
do I
actually
now?
Yes, you do.
I love it.
It's us. Don't mind us, guys.
Right? Yeah.
It's just us.
It's us.
And it's not our
Well,
full
at
potential.
least you're kind of giving Dragos here some support, because he's kind of a little bit on the scary side of things, and most especially not feeling too great. But then, you're kind of encouraging him. So that's good that you're coming
That's
along
my
with him. Yeah.
that's my job, as they say. It's my job.
Love it.
Now we're going to turn to our announcement section. Austin, are there any announcements this week?
This week there are no announcements, but what Warren has done is recently 4th of July rolled around, and Warren has recorded some fireworks from his town on a Pixel 6. And if you like to listen to fireworks, I mean, the recording is so spectacular, you can literally see those firecrackers being burnt in front of you. So if you want to listen to them, you can stay tuned to the end of the podcast, and after everything is done, then we will add those fireworks.
Yeah.
That is
Thank
the
you, Austin.
announcements.
And by
Anchor
the
will be
way,
annoying and render them in mono, but yeah, they should still be good, I think.
now, by the way, that thing is on, on the what Ed would like to call the Fisher Prize. I had a very nice recording on my Pixel.
Did it record in stereo? I think the Fisher Prize does even record in stereo, doesn't it?
Oh, well, Pixel
Surprisingly.
has been recording in stereo for years. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but on the podcast, what I'm saying is it's not Fisher Price's fault, but Anchor will render it mono.
Oh, does Anchor do that?
YouTube-
Render it in
yeah.
mono?
But
It does,
YouTube,
it does.
but
Oh.
YouTube will render it in stereo. Just so you
Yeah.
know.
Anchor will render it mono. Anchor renders everything mono.
Ah,
It's
what a
annoying.
I know
shame.
it's very annoying.
What a shame.
Yeah. So, much as I hate Fisher Price, underwhelming phones, it isn't actually the Fisher Price's fault on this occasion. Odd though that feels for me.
Oddly enough, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rubbish
my.
though they are. I'd much rather have a Xiaomi Dragos than if it's a Fisher Price.
I didn't
No,
know
I
Fisher
agree with
Price
you.
made phones.
Thank
hate
you,
Again, that's what
Sarah.
I call Google Pixels. I just don't rate them. I think they're awful plastic nonsense.
I don't know where he's getting the
Fisher
plastic
Price
from.
is Pixel. The phones we don't
Yeah.
like.
I don't like Google phones. They're a search company, not a hardware company. They should stop
I
it.
agree.
No, you guys haven't seen the Pixel 6 series, so just
She
shut
almost
up.
had a Pixel, though. Sarah, that is.
Just
Didn't
shut
make
up,
that
guys.
mistake, though.
We'll find out what Sarah has in a minute. We'll hold the suspense.
Yeah, but it's spectacular. I mean, if need be, I don't know, we could upload it somewhere, but it's just absolutely beautiful. You're not going to enjoy it in mono, because if you have it in stereo, you have some sound even coming from like in front or behind you. If you're using headsets, it's just beautiful.
So as Fee said, you can get it on the YouTube channel if Austin puts it up there. That will be stereo, but the podcast, annoyingly, won't be.
There we go.
Now we turn to our Android basic settings, and now we turn to accessibility. And I think we're going to start this by playing Warren's overview of those settings.
Let's now take a look at the accessibility section of our phone within the settings. This, in my never to be humble opinion, probably is the most important part of the phone for those of us with disabilities. In here, we could choose the type of items that we want that befits the type of disabilities that one has. And so I'm going to go in here and take a look at these things and then talk about those things that need talking about, explaining some features that may be a little bit confusing. I will now move my finger and tap on Accessibility Settings.
Accessibility, Display, Interaction, Audio.
I will tap here to activate.
Accessibility. Navigate up, button, out of list.
Let me now take some time and go through the items. And starting from the top, if you're someone who likes to swipe, you can just swipe from left to right. And if you're an explorer like me, then simply keep moving your finger downwards as you go through the different items found in this section. Here's what we've got.
Downloaded apps, heading, in list.
Here, the first item that we find is the heading that says Downloaded Apps. In other words, these are not apps that come natively with your phone, but apps that need accessibility access and therefore are downloaded apps and are found within this category. The first item here I have is
Authenticator, off.
Authenticator, and I'm not sure if this one is coming from Google or from Microsoft or from some other provider, but I do have that here. It means that I have downloaded it at some point. Next.
Brailleback, on provide Braille output.
Brailleback, and this is an app that is meant for interacting with Braille displays and all of that. But though now that we have the Braille built into Android 13X, we can now start using Braille displays without the need of Brailleback. Next, we've got
BRLTTY, off.
BRLTTY. And this is an app that we talked with one of the developers or the primary developer, Mr. Dave Milkey, a little while ago. And I think that was last year that we had him on here. It's part of the Braille display support and all of that, and I believe it plays an important role in the Braille integration found in Android 13X.
Dashlane, off.
Dashlane is a password management tool, and I have it. I haven't turned it on because I'm mainly using the Google autofill and password management instead of Dashlane. I really like Dashlane, but right now I'm not using that. Next.
eReader Prestigia, off.
eReader Prestigia, and this is one of those apps that I don't know why it's in here in the accessibility area, but there it is. It's just an EPUB reader, but it's in here, and I haven't given it access to my accessibility services.
Speak, off.
And Speak is a very popular app that most of us are familiar with. So it's the likes of Lookout, Envision, SuperSense, and Sullivan Plus, and some of those apps. That also needs accessibility access, but I haven't given it access to that. And I think the reason why it needs that is purely because of the currency reader, which it utilizes the ideal currency reader, which in my thinking now, it's irrelevant because that thing is no longer being supported. So in my case, I didn't give Speak access because I don't need it for currency recognition. Next.
Screen reader, heading.
Screen reader, and this has to do with our screen readers. For those of you that are using CSR in conjunction with Talkback, you will see that in here. For me though, I do not use CSR, so the only screen reading app that I will see here would be the Talkback. You know, back in the day when we had things like Shine Plus and Spiel, all of that will be under this heading. And so we move down here and it says
Talkback on speak items on screen.
Talkback is there. Next.
Display heading.
The next heading below that is the display. And this is something we talked about. And under display, we've got the following that are found within this heading.
Text and display.
Text and display. For those of you who can still manage some print, here you can go in and configure how you want your print to look or how your text to look on your screen and things like that. The fonts and all of that are found right in here if you tap here. Next.
Extra dim. Dim screen beyond your phone's minimum brightness.
Extra dim, and this has to do with that dimming. If you have dimmed your screen or set your screen brightness to 0%, and if you want it to be even dimmer than that, then you could tap here and activate that and make it extra dim. Next.
Dark theme will never turn off automatically.
Here we encounter another thing called a dark theme, and to the right of that is an on-off switch, and I have mine turned on, so that's a little bit more battery friendly for me because using the light theme may kind of drain my battery a little bit. So I kind of tend to prefer the dark theme, and also it's easier on the eye if you have a little bit of sight and things like that. But it all comes down or boils down to a personal preference. And like I said, to the right of that is the on-off switch.
Dark theme, switch on.
Mine is switched on. Next.
Magnification, off.
Next, we have the magnification for those of you who have some usable sight and would like to be able to magnify things on the screen. This will be an item to turn on, so you have that magnification. Next.
Select to speak, off here selected text.
Select to speak, and basically what this does is that if you have it enabled, when you encounter some certain part of the screen that you're having difficulty seeing, and this has to do with those who still have some usable sight and would like to use the service, then you enable that, and once you're on such block of text or whatever, you could make it speak that block of text so you can hear it. So if your eyes are tired, you may want to use that. But for me, as a blind user and a Talkback user, I do not have the need for enabling this. Next.
Interaction controls, heading.
Interaction controls, that's the next heading. And the first item that we find under this heading will be
Accessibility menu, off control device via large menu.
Accessibility menu. And this is something that I personally find a little bit redundant because the whole idea is that I want to have access to, say, hey, Google Assistant, or have something to like my quick panel. I could go in here and find those things found in here. I know it's a choice and some people kind of like that. I personally do not like that. And so I never have this feature turned on. The good news is that now in Android 13X, you can use gestures instead of having a little button or big button at the bottom of your screen, and or you can move it to whatever part of the screen, which is more or less a problem if you ask me. But with Android 13X beta, we now have that ability to use the gestures that it used to be that one could enable a gesture to use that. So that's for those that would like that kind of item. I don't. Next.
Switch access, off control device with switches.
Switch access, and this is mainly for people with dexterity issues and you want to use a connected device to control your phone. This is the switch to turn on if you have such a device. Next, we've got
Timing controls.
Let's go ahead and tab here on timing controls.
Timing controls. Navigate up, button, out of list.
We have some items in here, and the first item that we have is
Touch and hold delay, short, in list.
Touch and hold delay is short. Now, if you think that is too short for you, you could tap here and choose the duration that you would like. Below that, we got
Time to take action, accessibility timeout default.
Time to take actions. What that means is that when you have a toast message or something pops up a message at the bottom of your screen and it's something you need to interact with, the default is like 5 seconds for that message to disappear. Now, if you find that that is a little too short of a time for you, then you could tap in here and actually change that to a longer duration of time. I think we have things like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe even up to a minute or two. Let's go in here and take a look at what I'm talking about.
Time to take action. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
And in here, here's what we got.
Radio button. Selected. Default. In list.
So the default is the one that is selected by default. And like I said, I think this is like 5 seconds. And then below that, we've got
Radio button. Not selected. 10 seconds.
there's 10 seconds.
Radio button. Not selected. 30 seconds.
Then there's 30 seconds. Next,
Radio button. Not selected. 1 minute.
we got 1 minute. And the next one,
Radio button. Not selected. 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Now let's look at the explanation of this item. And below that, we've got the about, and it tells us as to what that feature is all about. Here's what I'm talking about.
About time to take action. Accessibility timeout. Choose how long to show messages that ask you to take action, but are visible only temporarily. Not all apps support this setting.
So not every app supports that setting. Let's go back now where we tap this item from.
Timing controls. Time to take action. Accessibility timeout. Default. In list.
Now the last item below here is
Autoclick dwell timing off.
auto-click dwell timing. And this has to do with connected mice or mouse for those that use those type of devices. What this feature does is that when your mouse is resting on something, then depending on the time chosen, it will automatically activate the item that is highlighted, and it's based on the timing. Let's go back to the previous screen.
Accessibility. Timing controls. In list.
Next, below that, we've got
System controls.
we have an item called System Controls. Let's go in here and take a look at the things that we have in System Controls.
System controls. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
We are now on the screen with System Controls. And here are the items that are found within this area.
System navigation. Gesture navigation. In list.
System navigation, and here's where you can go in. If you're someone who do not like the native gestures, you can go in here and change to the 3 navigational traditional nav buttons like the back, home, and all of that. They are all found in this area. I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick.
System navigation. Navigate up. Button. Out of list.
And we've got
Radio button. Selected. Gesture navigation. To go home, swipe up from the bottom of the screen. To switch apps, swipe up from the bottom, hold, then release. To go back, swipe from either the left or right edge. In list.
that's the one that I have chosen. So mine is set to the native Android system gestures. And to the right of that, there's a settings button.
Settings. Button.
Now below that, we've got
Radio button. Not selected. 3-button navigation. Go back, home, and switch apps with buttons at the bottom of your screen.
And that's the one I was talking about earlier, like the traditional nav system. I'll now go back.
System controls. System navigation. Gesture navigation. In list.
Below gesture navigation, we got
One-handed mode. Off.
one-handed mode. If your phone is too big for you, you could switch this on so you can use it with one hand. In other words, being able to hold it in one hand and be able to do things with your phone without the need of another hand. Next,
Power button ends call. Switch off.
power button ends calls. And this is a feature I have never used because I don't like using my power button to end my calls. Because for me, when I'm on a call, I would like to shut off my screen. But if I enable this, then every time that I shut off my screen, I'll be ending that call. So I have never used this, but a lot of people find this useful. And as we always say, it's all about that choice. The last item here will be
Auto rotate screen. Off.
the auto rotate screen, and it's off. I don't like my screen getting rotated on me while I'm doing things, so I keep mine in the portrait mode. And so to the right of that is the on-off switch.
Auto rotate screen. Switch off.
Let's now go back to the previous screen.
Accessibility. System controls. In list.
Let's now move on from here to the next item. And so below these system controls, the next item we come across is
Vibration and haptics off.
vibration and haptics. And mine says it's off. I am one of those that do not care about things like vibrations and all of that. So I don't have sounds or vibrations on my phone. Now, for people who like it, however, here you can go in and control the level or the strength of those vibrations and things like that. I'll quickly go in here and show you what I'm talking about.
Vibration and haptics. Navigate up, button, out of list.
Putting my finger down, I hear.
Use vibration and haptics, switch, off, in list.
Mine says use vibration is switched off because I don't have it on. Now, below that, we've got things like
Calls, heading.
under the calls heading.
Vibrate for calls, never vibrate, disabled.
Mine is disabled because I haven't turned on the switch.
Vibration and haptic strength, heading.
And under the strength is going to be disabled or is 100%.
Ring vibration, disabled.
Is disabled.
Ring vibration, slider, 100%, disabled.
We go down.
Notification vibration, disabled.
It's also disabled.
Notification vibration, slider, 100%, disabled.
We keep going.
Touch feedback, disabled.
Touch feedback is disabled.
Touch feedback, slider, 100%, disabled.
And that's the last item here. I'll go back to the previous screen.
Accessibility. Vibration and haptics, off.
Below vibrations, we got
Captions, heading.
captions heading. And this is primarily for those who are hard of hearing or people who are genuinely deaf and would rather use captions instead. And so here are the items that we find under the heading of captions.
Live caption, automatically caption media.
Live caption, basically whatever media is playing there, it should be able to show you what's going on. Next,
Live transcribe, convert speech to text.
live transcribe, and that's if someone is speaking to you or if you have an audio on your system, then it will transcribe that for you into text. Next,
Caption preferences, off.
and here you could turn on the caption preferences, and because I don't use it, it is by default off.
Audio, heading.
We come to the heading of audio now, and below audio we've got,
Sound amplifier, use headphones to improve audio.
that's for sound amplifier. Next,
Sound notifications, get notified about important sounds.
and that's things like fire alarms or baby crying. You could go in here and enable such things. Next,
Hearing aids, no hearing aids connected.
I don't have any hearing aids, so none is connected. Next,
Audio adjustment.
and here you can go in and adjust that audio, whether you want things combined as mono or things like that. You go in here.
General, heading.
Below general, we have the following items.
Accessibility shortcuts.
Accessibility shortcut. And what this means is that whether you've assigned your shortcut to use Talkback, for example, holding down the 2 volumes or whatever, or you assign your 2-volume key hold down to launching some other accessibility service, this is where you can go in and tell it whether or not that should also include the lock screen or not. I'll tap here and show you what I'm talking about.
Accessibility shortcuts. Navigate up, button, out of list.
I'll now put my finger down and you will hear what I'm talking about.
Accessibility button and gesture, quickly access accessibility features in list.
And to the right of that, we have an on-off switch.
Shortcut from lock screen, allow feature shortcut to turn on from the lock screen. Hold both volume keys for a few seconds, switch on.
And so I have mine turned on. So like I indicated earlier, whether you choose whatever accessibility service you want to be able to access even from the lock screen, you have to come here and make sure that is enabled, whether it's Talkback or whatever other accessibility service you want to assign this shortcut to, then you want to make sure that this is turned on here. Because if I turn this off, for example, then if I hold my Talkback or if I hold down the 2-volume keys on a lock screen, I will not be able to turn on Talkback because this has not been enabled here. Let's go back.
Accessibility.
Let's now look at the last item that is found here in the accessibility settings, and that will be a very important item that all of us use, especially those of us who are blind, and that will be
Text-to-speech output.
text-to-speech output. That TTS, it has to do with all that TTS engine, and it's in here that we go in to choose as to which of these TTS engines we would like to use. Thus, a very important feature for those of us who are blind. That is a quick rundown, though, of the items found in the accessibility area.
So this is obviously the most important part of our phones, I think, the accessibility settings. Warren, do you want to say anything on the back of your recording?
Well, frankly, when you talk about importance of the accessibility, we couldn't be any farther from the truth, because it's the most important part of our phones. And I remember back in those days when we couldn't start accessibility on our own, and handing your phone over to some sighted person, you got to tell them, hey, go into system settings, scroll down and see if you could find where it says accessibility. It's always been a pain. But here's where all those things, as I've shown, everything relating to accessibility. Now, that's from the pixel side of things. And, before, though, we talk about some of the items in here that we find of importance to us. I noticed, though, that it's kind of arranged differently for those guys on Samsung phones and other devices. But Dragos, would you like to kind of, if you would, my man, show us the layout in a Samsung phone, because we do have a lot of listeners and readers that use Samsung phones. And so it would make sense to kind of show people the layout that's found in Samsung phones, so you know where things are in the accessibility area. Dragos, you want to do that?
Yeah, definitely. They were very different on my Galaxy S10 Plus when it was on Android 11, but they changed it in 12. They changed it, like, now Android 12 has more accessibility settings than it used to do in 11, especially in the visibility enhancements.
Recommended for you using 2 functions.
So it says recommended for you. It recommends you what accessibility services you should use. For example, if you turn on Talkback, it will recommend you like extra dimming or high contrast. Or if you turn on the thing that makes everything extra large, it will also recommend you some display settings. I don't know other things. So, but then your first actual option is
Talkback,
which I don't use. It's Samsung Talkback. It's not much different from Google's, just late. Very late in comparison. Like, the updates come later for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with Samsung, why they do that, but sure.
visibility enhancements.
Here we have visibility enhancements, which has a lot of the things that Warren's phone showed.
Hearing enhancements.
We have hearing enhancements, which has a lot of things. Samsung actually dedicated themselves to accessibility, if you ask me.
Interaction and dexterity.
Here you have like all of the delays when you touch and stuff. You have the answering and ending calls thing to answer with the volume buttons, which is pretty cool.
Advanced settings.
Here, I feel like I have to go in here. It's not too much, but it has a lot of useful things.
Advanced setting. Advanced accessibility button none.
Here you have all the accessibility shortcuts.
Side and volume up keys commentary screen reader. Volume up and down keys talkback. Notifications. Flash notification. Time to take action default.
This stuff was moved for some reason from hearing. The flash notification and stuff. It used to be in hearing.
Speak keyboard input allowed works with Samsung keyboard only. Unavailable. Speak keyboard input allowed. Bixby Vision for accessibility.
This is very good. It's a service that only Samsung has. It's basically kind of a Google Lookout alternative. Works well, if you ask me. It's I believe it works in the camera app directly. I'm not sure. I haven't used it in a while.
Voice label write voice recordings to NFC tags to provide you with information when you're nearby. The tab. Looking for something else.
And that's it.
Back accessibility. Installed apps. About advanced settings.
Advanced settings, and then
Installed
you
apps.
have
17 apps.
installed apps, all of my accessibility services that I added, like commentary screen reader and everything.
About accessibility.
About accessibility.
Contact us.
And contact us.
Navigate up button. Installed apps.
Thank
There
you
you
so
go.
much, Dragos. Here I've always argued that when it comes to accessibility, I think one of the companies that's in the forefront has to be Samsung without a doubt. And most especially, I don't care whether it's Google, whether it's Fruitvale. Looking at you, Apple. When it comes to
Yeah, right.
accessibility, when you look at what Samsung has done, it's what I've been arguing for years now, that we need to have access. When I turn on my phone for the first time, it should come up talking, letting me know, hey, if you're blind, do XYZ to enable accessibility. No one has done that except Samsung. So
Samsung.
forget about all the cry about Apple doing that, doing this. It's all nonsense. I think Samsung has it right, and Google hasn't gotten it right either, even though with Google now you have that what I call the heartbeat. But if you don't know what that means, you wouldn't know, okay, now I'm on the setup screen where I could enable accessibility. So the best thing is to do what Samsung has done. And you look at all the accessibility items found in Samsung phones, they're absolutely great. You go grab a Samsung TV, you turn it on, the latest ones, it actually comes up talking, telling you what to do if you want accessibility. That's
Even
what
older one
inclusivity
do.
should be. Yeah, we should have, inclusivity, that way making it inclusive. So Samsung, always, you guys, you rock.
Here's where I do feel sorry for Google though, because you can't run before you can walk, can you? So learn to make phones first and then make them accessible.
And that has
agree.
nothing to do with
They
that.
turn
It
out
doesn't have.
junk.
It has nothing to do with hardware. Let's not degenerate
Well, it does, because
out of it.
it's not on Google's hardware, is it? So
No.
it does
But
have
what
anything
I'm
to do with
saying, all
hardware.
these companies have failed. They all say, "Oh, we're all about accessibility," but they're afraid to do it because I think the whole thing is that they're going to be thinking, hey, some sighted person is going to turn it on, and then they're going to be cursing them off and all of that. But I don't care. The thing says, if you are blind or you need accessibility, how stupid can you be? If you're not blind, why the hell are you touching the thing that's intended for accessibility? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
and you don't have to touch nothing. You just have to
no.
press the buttons, which
You just need to press
it's not
continue if
gonna-
you don't want accessibility. Come on,
Exactly. LG did it first, and I read an article about this. I never seen it. On some old LG on the Android 4.1, you had, when the phone started up, it said double tap to enable Talkback.
Exactly.
And,
LG was another
that was
good
really
company
cool.
that was into accessibility. I know Samsung
they
didn't
were.
start it till 2016 with the Galaxy S7. I have that
Exactly,
to
the
prove that.
S7 did that. Yes,
Yeah.
I have an S7 Edge
Does
as well.
Windows do it these days with
Somewhere.
Cortana? I can't remember whether they do.
You have to
No,
press
they don't do it.
control Windows Enter for narrator.
To bring up narrator. I
Exactly.
wasn't sure if
No,
Cortana
it does
came up
though.
there.
It does do that. If you reset
Not
your
on Windows 11.
not
doesn't
on
do
Windows
it.
11, why?
I thought Windows 10
I
did.
don't know.
Yeah, I thought Windows 10
Yeah,
did.
Windows 10 does.
It does. That's 10. It does. 11 does not. I reinstalled 11. It did not do it.
But why
10
regress?
Cortana will tell you if you need screen reader, press Control Windows Enter.
Yeah,
So you
but
still
that's
have
what
to
I'm
press.
saying. So that's fine. So that's what I'm asking. I don't want the thing to be, talking, but what I want is like, hey, if you're blind or if you need some accessibility, do X, Y, Z. We're not saying, hey, make everything, talking. That could be annoying to people. So I'm glad they've done it this way because I think that's probably the best way to do it. So now looking at the accessibility section, or that area where we have accessibility, what stands out to you guys there that is a must-have? I mean, in the categories, I think they're all done right in the sense that you have things for people that have dexterity issues, things in there for knuckleheads like me as a blind person, and then you have it there for people who have sight enough, but now and then, though, they would want to hear something read out to them because they either their eyes are tired or whatever the case may be. So it seems like we have everything in here for everybody, doesn't it? People who like magnification and all of that.
And Braille as well.
Yeah. We supposedly have Braille now in Talkback 13.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet, but so at the moment I've still got Braille back with its annoying jingly noises when it connects and disconnects, which I've complained about many times, so I won't go over all that again. But it is
She will
annoying.
always talk about this dinging sound of the bell.
That's funny. Well, I'll
But
tell you
it's
what
really loud, especially if you're in church or something, and suddenly your phone goes delete. Imagine that.
Yeah,
Let us pray in a moment of silence.
yeah.
That's something we don't need. No.
I think I know that I don't know. Now for me, I'm learning because I kind of learned on my iPhone how to do like touch typing and stuff, but I sometimes feel like I'm not fast enough at it yet. And so sometimes I would like to have the option to braille screen input, and that was native in the iPhone. You could download the the braille keyboard.
Well,
And
you
I
can on this too, but
well,
it's,
yeah, but I think you have to pay for it on commentary. I just wonder if the phone companies themselves, Google and Samsung and them, could just put one innately on on their platform, so to speak.
well, Talkback has a Braille keyboard, but you have to use Talkback, and we both know how much you like Talkback and I like Talkback.
Yeah, no,
So,
no, but I'm just wondering, like an outside, like an actually within the system UI, I guess. I don't know. I don't know enough about Android anymore to really put
Well, I think
what I'm thinking into
here's
words.
what's going on though, Sarah, because even on the iPhone, I actually use the word iPhone. In the iPhone itself, that Braille thing is found where voiceover is found, isn't it? Isn't it part
it's
of
in
the
VoiceOver.
yeah, so
Yes,
it's
you
the
can't
same
use it
thing with
VoiceOver's off.
Talkback. I mean, it's found, we have Braille keyboard there in Talkback as well. So if you're looking for it in commentary screen reader, then you have to ask whoever is writing commentary screen reader to enable Braille capability. But we have that full support on Android coming through Talkback, for example, whether it's version 12.2 or version 13 now, which actually makes it better. Exactly the same thing that we have on iPhone, Apple phones, because now you don't need Braille back in order to do that. It's integrated right in there. So it's the same thing you're talking about.
With accessibility, I'd really like it in Talkback if I could say I want to hear every letter when I'm touch typing on the screen, because you need that, but I'd only like to hear every word when I'm using the Bluetooth keyboard, and I'm not sure that Talkback is that advanced.
I believe you can do it with commentary.
You can do it with
use
Talkback
that.
too. You just have to go into the keyboard preferences and do that. And
but it's only one setting for both, isn't it? It doesn't have.
It's not
I didn't think it was. I thought you could do it for hardware keyboard separately.
Yeah.
Oh, have they updated that now?
They do have that.
Look. I'll have to have a look. Maybe it's updated since I last checked. In that case, if I'm wrong, apologies, everybody.
The keyboard has been revamped a lot, and if you haven't been in there, especially the hardwired keyboard, you need to go in there and change things, how you want them to be. It does. I like what they have done with the keyboard, whether it's virtual or hardware keyboard.
Yeah, I like that it's separate.
Everything's
separate now.
It used to be that it was just I had to have words and letters for everything. Oh, well, then maybe I can improve my experience now then.
They changed it a while ago, yeah. No, they
That's
changed
good
it.
to
What?
know.
Talkback 12 or 11?
Oh, I've been very busy studying, so I've been too busy doing that to do that recently. But yeah, that's interesting. I think Talkback's
wish-
interesting. On Samsung, I love being able to press up volume to answer the call and the power button to end the call. I find that a lot less of a kerfuffle than
That's pretty cool.
when you can't do that on
the
other
up button
phones.
is a Samsung thing. The power button's universal, but the answering the call with the volume is a Samsung thing.
It's very cool. Yeah, I do like that. If I didn't have that, could I do the double tap like you can on
2-finger double.
Oh yeah, 2-finger
to
double
answer?
tap.
That
Yeah. Mhm.
works, doesn't it? I'm sure I've done that. But the up volume is just easier.
Yeah,
I used to
the
use
double
that
tap works in
until
Android 11 and up, I think. That didn't used to be a thing.
No, but it's more recent, isn't it? The double tap. Yeah, answering the
that's
phone
what I mean.
used to be quite annoying because you had to find the answer button in time and stuff. And
Well, no, you swiped up. You swiped up to answer. That was the
swiped
way
up
you
with
did
2
it.
fingers back then, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can
With-
find the answer button, obviously, but that's a bit slow.
With commentary,
Oh,
you just swipe down with
gosh,
one
I was-
finger to answer and swipe up to
I was
end the
very
call.
inefficient, and then I got a Samsung, so I didn't need to worry about it. And the other thing, I mean, the only thing is that doesn't work with WhatsApp calls, which is a bit irritating.
It won't
The
work outside
2-finger
the
double
phone app,
tap does.
I don't think. Does double tap work?
WhatsApp
Double tap,
works
yes.
with double tap now. You can just double tap. So a couple days
WhatsApp
ago,
calls.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good.
answering
Okay,
and
I'll try.
ending WhatsApp calls, you could use a double tap, or you could actually even swiping up. Will answer your WhatsApp call. I installed WhatsApp 2 days ago because I wanted to get hold of a friend of mine. Knucklehead Alan. Alan, if you're hearing this, you doggone you. So I installed WhatsApp after a year on a virtual number that I don't use on my media device. And, I was surprised. Swiping up answer calls, double tap answer calls, double tap ends the WhatsApp calls too. So I think those guys have come a long way, making things very
Swipe up with 2
accessible.
fingers
Oh,
works
okay.
on
Yes,
WhatsApp? I
it
didn't
does
know
work.
that.
Yeah.
Because
So-
Now, Warren, when you say
the up volume thing didn't, or it didn't last
No.
time I tried it, but then these
Up
things are always
volume
changing.
won't, I don't think.
No, it won't.
not on WhatsApp, Warren, when you say double tap, you're meaning with 2 fingers, right? When you say
Exactly. Double
Oh,
tap
okay.
with 2 fingers. Yeah.
Okay.
Both to answer and end the calls, the
and then the
WhatsApp
call,
calls.
yeah, that's the
But
way I
see,
do it.
so I happen to be one of those that I don't want to go beating up on my phone. So I never use any of the double tapping to answer my calls. I prefer swiping up because, it doesn't matter what part, whether I'm swiping up from the middle or from the bottom, it answers my calls. And so
How many
I never
fingers
use
do
the double tapping.
How many fingers are you swiping up with for that?
With 2.
2.
Because
Okay.
here's the rule, as I've always said, Android, and this is why I like Android. Sighted people will swipe up with 1 finger. And so if a sighted person does it with 1, for us, it
We do
calls
it
for 2. If a
And if they
sighted
do it with
person uses
2,
2, it's
yeah.
3. So it's very
It's very- yeah.
logical,
Yeah.
the logic on Android, because you're using the same gestures. It's not
Exactly.
screen reader based. And that's why
Yes,
I
because
like
if
it.
I'm
Apple's
if I'm
gestures,
scrolling,
3 fingers instead
Pardon?
of instead of 2 fingers. Like if a sighted person swipes with 1 finger, you'll have to swipe with 3. Same with the actions. You don't double tap and hold like a sighted person. On Apple, you go up, down, and then you go up, swipe up for each action, and then double tap, which I guess is kind of useful in its own way. But then,
It just creates more steps.
yeah.
Exactly, unneeded steps, and so I kind of like being included in there because you are
Exactly.
using the native
It's
gestures
inclusive.
as a screen
That's what I
reader
like
based.
about Android.
I don't like screen reader based gestures. I'm
No,
just
and
one
the
of
key
those odd
advantage
ones.
is that you can ask a sighted friend how to do something on a phone and replicate
Exactly.
it. Whereas
Exactly.
voiceover, there are no system gestures in voiceover. They are all voiceover gestures.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
it's
fine.
more.
It
It's
is
more.
what it is. But
It's more sort of inclusive in in Android, like you say, we can ask sighted people. Whereas if I need to help my dad with his phone, which is an iPhone, what I basically do is I turn on voiceover and do whatever I need to do for him, and then I turn it off again because I
Yeah,
can't.
that's what I do with my husband.
Because I can't tell him how to do stuff without voiceover because I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
That's exactly right.
And
I
that's why
remember
I've
I
always
got my first
argued.
iPhone 12 years ago, and I asked people how to do stuff, and all the people I knew who owned them were sighted, and you can translate them a little bit, but not in the way that you can on Android, just by adding a finger.
No.
Exactly.
No, and I
And scrolling up and down like web pages and things.
Two
You know, when you're
fingers,
using
Apple's 3.
2 fingers for that.
It's well efficient on iOS anyway. It won't scroll very far.
I find with the iPhone a lot of times, and now Dragos knows this. My husband is technologically, I mean, he's okay. Like he can use the phone, but he doesn't really understand a lot of technology. So, and sometimes he'll say, "How do you do this? Like, how do you whatever?" And I'll tell him what I see on my screen if I'm trying to do the same thing on an iPhone. And a lot of times he'll say, "Well, there's not anything like that on my screen." And I always wonder why. Like,
Well, and usually I have to chime in and explain the sighted way because, well, sighted, because I'm used to how the sighted do things doing tech support and teaching and stuff. I had to learn how the sighted do things even on Apple, so it's different from what we have on Apple, that is.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Android, the native gestures have nothing to do with a screen reader gestures, and
Exactly.
this is
You
why
just have
I
to
like
add one more
Android.
finger.
Yeah, it's good. Another thing I like in accessibility in Android, which you can do on other phones as well, but something I like, because you asked ages ago, you know, what the priorities are for each of us. I like being able to make the screen dark so that I can be doing emails or messages or whatever on the train or in a cafe or something, and I know no one's reading them over my shoulder.
Yeah.
So that's good.
The only problem I've found now is, and I think this is a commentary issue, I don't know what the deal is, but now when I do the screen curtain gesture to enable the screen curtain, it doesn't tell me the screen curtain's enabled.
Like I said, I think your license expired. I don't know yet. There. And so, yeah, that's one thing that I don't like about Apple, about the commentary. As much as I love commentary, stuff that should be free is behind the paywall. And I don't mind paying for stuff, right? But not for a screen curtain. I mean, you can use screen curtain, you just have to turn it on every single time from the menu, which is absolutely stupid.
Oh, that's annoying. Talkback remembers it.
Well, so does commentary, if you're paid.
If you're paid.
Maybe rather than being behind.
My license,
but that should be a basic, feature, really, because
it should be independent. Yes.
Yeah, it's a basic feature.
Well, now you have extra
for a blind
dimming,
person.
so it doesn't matter.
It shouldn't be
much,
behind a
I don't
paywall.
think.
Or behind, maybe it's behind a curtain.
Yeah,
yeah, right. Exactly.
Behind the curtain, I like that. Fee.
Exactly.
Behind the money curtain, you're right.
Exactly.
And we close this week with highlights from Talkback.
We continue now with our theme of highlights from Talkback. This is installment 43. In the last installment 42, we looked at the triple tapping with 3 fingers to paste the content of our clipboard. Today, I'll be concluding the 3-finger gestures, and for today's demonstration, I once again am using my Pixel 4 with Android 12 and Talkback 12.2. For speech services, I'll be utilizing the Google Speech Services. I am on my home screen and will navigate to the Talkback menu by tapping with 3 fingers to activate that Talkback menu, and here we go.
Talkback menu. Actions in list. Tap to activate.
I am now in the Talkback menu, and the item we're looking for is the Talkback settings. I'll put my finger down and tap on Talkback settings.
Talkback settings. Tap to activate.
Here is Talkback Settings, and I'll tap here to activate.
Talkback Settings. Navigate up, button, out of list. Tap to activate.
We are now in the Talkback Settings. The next item I'm looking for here in Talkback Settings will be the Customize Gestures. I'll put my finger down, tap on Customize Gestures.
Customize gestures. Tap to.
Here is Customize Gestures. I'll tap here to activate this item.
Customize gestures, out of list.
I am now on the customization page for the gestures. And once again, this is where we will change our granularities to the heading granularity. In other words, we're going to change the mode with which you are using Talkback from either word, line, or character granularity to the heading mode. And in order to change to the heading mode, we have one of three methods, as we've said again and again. And the first one, my preference, is that swiping up and down the scrubbing movement with one finger in one fluid movement to change those granularities. Or if you prefer using that multi-finger gesture, you could either swipe down with three fingers, swipe from left to right, swipe from right to left, and that should also do the same thing. I believe that I already am in the headings mode, and now we'll simply swipe down with one finger. So whether you're using the up and down scrubbing movement or the left and right, up and down, or right to left with three fingers, once you hear headings, then it's time to swipe down with just one finger until we get to where it says three-finger gestures or three-finger heading. Here I go now. I'll swipe down with one finger.
One finger, heading, in list.
Let's swipe down.
One finger back and forth, heading.
Keep going.
One finger angle, heading.
Keep going.
Two fingers, heading.
Keep going.
Three fingers, heading.
Here's the heading that we're after, and that's the three fingers heading. Let's look at the things that we've considered so far in the three-finger heading, and here are the items that we've dealt with in the past.
Tap with three fingers, open Talkback menu. Tap and hold with three fingers, screen search. Double tap with three fingers, copy. Double tap and hold with three fingers, cut. Double tap and hold with three fingers, cut.
And that's the last one that we saw last week in installment 42. For today's installment, we will be concluding all the three-finger gestures. And here are the things that are left for this three-finger gestures. We've got
triple tap and hold with three fingers, tap to assign. Tap to
that
activate.
is unassigned, and
Swipe up with three fingers, previous reading control. Swipe down with three fingers, next reading control. Swipe left with three fingers, previous reading control.
And the last
Tap
one
to
under
activate.
this heading will be,
Swipe right with three fingers, next reading control. Tap
and that's the last of the three-finger gestures. Now let's go back to the one that is unassigned, the one that says tap to assign. In other words, this has not been assigned to anything, and you could choose to assign it to whatever you would like to assign it to. For this demonstration, I would like to reassign my triple tapping with three fingers on hold to copy last spoken phrase. So let's go back now and tap on.
triple tap and hold with three fingers, tap to assign.
We will tap here to open this page.
Triple tap and hold with three fingers. Tap to assign, checked, in list.
We hear it say tap to assign checked. So now though, we need to go reassign this to the copy last spoken phrase. We will need to use our heading movement, and that item is found under the heading that says text editing. I will swipe down with one finger until I get to text editing. Let's go.
Basic navigation, heading.
Swipe down.
System actions, heading.
Keep going.
Reading, heading.
Reading.
Menu and controls, heading.
One more.
Text editing, heading.
Text editing. And that's where we need to be. Now, here are the things that I found under the heading of text editing. We've got
Start or end selection mode. Move cursor to beginning. Move cursor to end. Select all. Copy. Cut. Paste. Copy last spoken phrase.
And that's the one we want. Now, if what we want to do is simply reassign these to the copy last spoken phrase, then all we need to do is simply tab here. And that will reassign that to the copying of the last spoken phrase. I will tab here to assign this to the copying of the last spoken phrase. Here, let's go ahead and tab.
Talkback settings. Triple tap and hold with 3 fingers. Copy last spoken phrase in list.
There we are, and it says triple tap and hold, and that should copy the last spoken phrase. The other ones that are unassigned are these, and these are all the navigational gestures. In other words, these are the ones that you could use in changing your granularities, and these are
Swipe up with 3 fingers. Previous reading control.
next,
Tap. Swipe down with 3 fingers. Next reading control. Swipe left with 3 fingers. Previous reading control. Swipe right with 3 fingers. Next reading control.
and that's the last item there under all of the 3-finger gestures. Let's go ahead now and demonstrate that copying of the last spoken phrase, and that means I'll now triple tap and hold with 3 fingers to copy the last item we just saw, which is the navigational gesture with 3 fingers. Let's go ahead and triple tap and hold.
Copied. Swipe right with 3 fingers. Next reading control.
And that copies the last spoken phrase. And that concludes the 3-finger gesture navigation, and you also have known how to go about reassigning a gesture that is unassigned to something to doing something you would like to assign it for.
Now we turn to our My Android Journey section, and I'm delighted this week to say it's a double bill. We have Dragos Drecianu and we have Sarah Linton. Now we turn to my Android Journey section, and I'm pleased to say this week we're joined by Dragos Drecianu. And now we turn to our My Android Journey section, and I'm delighted to say this week we are joined by Sarah Linton. Hopefully we can do whatever now.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's all fine, and we
I'm
can
here.
splice them and do whatever.
Good.
Yep, it works.
Yeah. And for the My Android Journey section, I know it's his favourite bit. It is all our favourite bits, to be fair, and I'm going to hand over to Warren.
Thank you so much, Ed, because you know what? This is my most favorite part of the episode. And I am delighted that, Dragos actually brought a friend along. And so why not have 2 birds? And I'm so thrilled. Which one of you guys would like to go first? And we love these Android Journey stories. You know why? Because it encourages people who are just kind of getting onto Android or kind of thinking about getting onto Android, and also encourages those that are having struggles. And when you talk about these Android Journey stories and tell people about what you went through and all of that, it just kind of helps cement that feeling of, if someone like this could do it, I can do it too. So these stories are very encouraging. And Dragos, since they say ladies go first, shall we have Sarah go first?
Obviously.
Girl, you have it.
Okay,
Thank you,
I was
Sarah.
gonna let Dragos because he's the veteran, but I'll tell you, so my Android journey actually started in 2012, back when accessibility really wasn't a thing. It was kind of hit or miss. And let's see, I started out with the Droid 2. Oh, did I have the Droid 2? Yeah. And the Droid 2 really didn't do much. It could do email and stuff. I was thrilled to be able to actually do email on it. But actually browsing things was, to me, kind of sketchy. I'm better than my husband in tech, but you still have to explain some things to me a little bit more than the average person, I think. And so the Droid 2, really was kind of useless to me, other than if I wanted to write an email. The Droid 4 was better. And by the time I got the LG G4, I could play my casino games and stuff like that with some hiccups. And the G4 conked out, and as I said when I first joined the conversation, I basically said, here's a word that Dragos and I like to use. I coined it. It's an all-purpose word. I said, shoo shit, I'm getting an iPhone. I got the iPhone in 2016, loved it. It seemed easier at the time. And I convinced my husband to get one because at the time it had better signal here in the country. Now not so much. And when my screen on the 12 mini started messing up, Dragos has been trying to get me to join Android for as long as I've known him, 2 years. And he started playing one of my games just to see if he could. And he got commentary to tell him a bunch of stuff. And it worked for him. But then when I got the phone, when he bought me this A53, for some reason, I still haven't figured out with commentary and screen recognition how to get it to actually tell me what I'm betting or what game I'm playing. I can't choose games and things like that. So that's a work in progress. But other than that, I absolutely love Android because it does seem a lot quicker to get to things, and you don't have to close everything like you do an iPhone. I still want to learn how to close individual apps, but you don't really have to. And so I say it's Dragos' fault, but I really, really do enjoy it.
It's a good fault in a good way, though, because now you are now on the Android platform with us, and it's a beautiful thing. One more girl, right?
She's
Yeah,
on the
this
dark
is
side.
true.
She joined the dark side finally.
I have joined the dark side.
And you are no longer
Took me
carrying
2 years
along
and
with you.
$350.
You're no longer carrying along with you that little girly iPhone 12 mini.
Yeah,
I
although
call
I
them the
did,
girly
I have
phone.
to confess, I thought it was beautiful. I did.
Yeah, I
I
know girls
did.
like little
It was
things
pretty. It
like
was
that.
pretty. I like the teeny tiny phones. That's why I have the small S22 myself.
You know what? I
Hers
think
is
you're,
too
you're
big for me.
I think the one that would be perfect
That's what she said.
on Android, little girly phone would be, some of those Sony Compact, or the just released Asus. Is it no? Is it not? Which one is? Yeah, I think it's Asus 9.
The Zenfone 9s.
The
Yes, it's
Zenfone,
a
yeah.
very compact
I
phone out
had
here.
I had the old Sony Compact. It is really small.
Yeah.
The
I
2017
also
one.
thought if I had the money, if I was a rich bitch, I would join, or I would get the Z Flip.
Yeah, the Z Flip's
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But we don't have the money for the Z Flips.
I think
Yeah.
that a lot of these phones though are built for men's bigger hands. And
That's
I do
I
fair
think you're
think
right, Fee. Yeah,
I
yeah.
do think it would be nice if there
I
were a few
love them
smaller.
big. The bigger they come, the better it is for me, because I like my big phones. It's kind of
Even
weird.
for
Yeah,
me with big hands, I love a phone that slides into my palm and I can literally jumble in one hand, just move it up, down, use it with one finger, with my thumb or my, just have it.
Yeah, but
So I can
women
even
are
use
half
it in
the
my pocket and
population.
everything.
Most of us have smaller hands, so we should have phones to suit all of us.
Yeah.
Our hand
Yeah.
sizes. Yeah.
Well, so you're now using the A53 as your main driver, and you're loving it. And you are a commentary screen reader as well, right?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Dragos transferred his license to me. And I do like it. I really haven't played with I used Talkback when I was on the older Android platform back when I was on the Android email list. And it was slow. The gesture was not easy for me to do. I have optic nerve hypoplasia, so like spatial can be a real thing for me. So sometimes I think I'm doing the gesture right, and for some reason it won't do what I want it to do, and it frustrates me. And that was Talkback for you back then.
It's the same now. Don't you worry.
Well,
She
actually,
literally
though,
got
I will
her
say
phone with
though,
commentary turned on.
I'll say though, Dragos, that the gestures have become more forgiving in the sense that um, you can literally do a C print, for like,
For an L, that is fair.
and it will accept that as a gesture. So
Yeah.
the gestures don't have to be precise anymore. And that's what I like. And so I
Yeah.
think we should give credit where credit's due.
But the other thing
That's
about that
true,
as
but
well
it's
is
still
that
slow and
there were
clunky.
6 of them, and you never needed 4 of them because there were other ways to do it in the operating system. So,
Exactly.
like, you could bin off most of the angular gestures. The only
Well,
ones
and
you
I-
couldn't were to get into the talkback menus. So, there were operating system ways to do the things that talkback gave us angular gestures for. So, if they're difficult, my advice is not to wait for them to get more forgiving. Just don't use them.
Well, that or turn turn on, but like tell Bixby to turn on Talkback. That's the beautiful thing about Bixby. Like, I love the fact that it seems a lot more. Bixby seems a lot more. What's the word I wanted to say? Responsive than Siri.
Yeah, and
as
that's
well.
Bixby, which people hate. Like, in comparison to Google Assistant's even better, or so people say. I use Bixby, though.
Well, I'll tell you what, I do like Google Assistant for making calls. Because Bixby, I'll tell it to call such and such a business, right? That's not in my contacts. And it'll say, I don't see such and such a business in your contacts. And I don't know how to get her past that to actually call the dang place.
She doesn't. She doesn't.
I think
That's
it's
one
Google
thing she
that's
doesn't do.
it's Google that searches for it, isn't it? So if you're using
It
Bixby,
is, yeah.
it won't be able to find it.
Bixby won't do it.
But it's what I find quite funny. I don't know if you find this, Sarah, when it says, "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Who do you want to call?" And so often I get tempted to go, "Ghostbusters!"
I love that. Oh my god, that's awesome.
I've never done it, but I'd wonder what it would say if I did.
Could say I
I'll
can't
have
find
to try that.
Ghostbusters in your contacts. I tried.
I definitely think you should. I think
But
that
it's just
needs
who
to
do
be
you
an
want to call? I mean, I know the song is "Who You Gonna Call," I
Yeah,
think,
right.
but it's
yeah.
so similar. It just makes me want to go Ghostbusters.
Sometimes I don't know if when I put it in my pocket, I like mash the power button by accident and hold it, and Bixby comes on, and I'll be like, "Shut up, Bixby! I didn't ask you nothing."
Yeah,
And
that's
she
because
kind
you
of gets
don't wear
confused
any
about
kind of case. That's the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think iPhone needs to be that immediately.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was a beautiful story. And this is why I keep talking about these things, because it's my favorite segment of the podcast, because it brings all the laughters and all that struggles and then the beautiful things about it and all of that. Hey, Dragos, my man, it's your turn. I know you're the vet, and take us down that journey.
Definitely. My journey is, well, it's all a lie. I'm an Apple user. Not.
I love that.
Leave it to that
I
boy.
had to. You know I had to. But I actually was an Apple user. Surprising. I started with an iPhone 3GS early on, and I loved that thing. It was reliable. It was perfect. It was tiny. It did everything. It read me everything. I could play games. I could do anything I wanted. Until the SIM reader broke, obviously. Because, yeah. And my family, because I was a kid, obviously, was like, well, it's too expensive to get another iPhone, And so we got an Android. I got the Galaxy S Advance, or the Galaxy S2 Lite, as I believe it was called in America. I know it was called that in a few places. And it ran Android 2.3.6. And the phone with no keyboard in Android 2 is not fun. I didn't have a keyboard, I didn't have a trackpad. I was basically answering calls on it because, and using my iPhone as an iPod because, well, you couldn't do much on it. You really couldn't. And what really introduced me to Android was a really, really, really cheap tablet that my family got me, a Sirius tablet that was running on 4.2.2. And, well, I loved it. It wasn't my iPhone, but it was still really, really nice. And then I got the update on my phone, and, well, I was thrilled because everything actually worked. I didn't need to carry two devices. I didn't need to work with two devices. And then, well, I had a lot of Android phones, and I mean a lot. I loved trying new things. I loved, experimenting. I wanted to upgrade. I went to the S3 Neo that I absolutely loved. It was always good compared to the S2. The S2 was full of hiccups, was full of a lot of problems that I honestly wanted to switch to Apple for. I switched back. But I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. And I tried a lot of phones afterwards, even if I didn't keep them for very long. My favorites were the Galaxy A5 2016 that was absolutely a beast, was always reliable, always worked flawless, even that the amount of space was not... It was laughable. I mean, 16 gigs, what do you do with 16 gigs, people? Back then it was fine, but I used it till 2021 because I went back to it because I refused to use the A50 that I had at the time. I went back to the A5 because Samsung kind of became bad. After 2019, they went very... How should I say this nicely? Their phones aren't the same.
Was
They
this when
used
they
to
had
be.
the exploding phones, or was that before
Well,
that?
I'm not counting the Note 7. I had the S7 Edge as well that I absolutely loved. That was from the same time period.
But when you say
But
Samsung phones went bad, was this when they had
well,
the
No,
exploding?
I know what you
no,
mean. It's like
no,
Toshiba
they turned to
laptops.
They turned to plastic, and their components became crappy. The storage chips are bad. The one on my E50 almost failed, and well, the battery was garbage. Now they apparently stepped up their game with the A53, or so Sarah says. I don't see that on my S22. I charge it twice a day. But yeah, I used a lot of phones. I used Nokia, and I tried going back to Apple. An uncle of mine got me an iPhone XR, and I just couldn't. I love the customization. I love the fact that I can use any screen reader I want. I love the fact that I can use my TDS fast, not like Apple's snail of a vocalizer, Like, I'm sorry, but use vocalizer at 100% on an iPhone, and it's like, I don't know, 60% on an Android equivalent or so, which is not for me. And I'm sorry, but I like doing productive things on my phone, I like the good old split screen to be in a meeting at the same time to take notes, because I'm a fast typer. I disable browse by touch and I just type like a sighted person. And I'm an Android advocate. I try to switch everybody because it's cheaper. And, well, you get more than you get on Apple.
And don't you, Dragos, don't you also have Xiaomi phones, or have I got that wrong?
Well, I have two phones. I have this that I'm currently on Google Meet from, the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro. An absolute brick. It's reliable enough, I guess. Bluetooth doesn't really work, so Xiaomi doesn't pass quality control. But otherwise, it's faster than the Pixel 6 Pro. Yeah, I said it, Warren. judge me. Even that it's what, a 2020 phone? It was what, 400-pound phone kind of thing? 500-pound? And it beats the Pixel 6 Pro, it beats the S22, and it's 2 years old now. The only problem I have with this, the software support is garbage. I just got the Android 12 and it's the last thing I'll ever get from it.
You know
Why?
what?
I
You
don't
know
know.
what Dragos
It's capable.
is called. I call it the cat. Yes, all that Mew. I call it the cat. UI, MUI. The Mewy or whatever. So it
Yeah,
makes the
the
sound of a
meow.
cat. I
The
think that's
cat.
what I don't like about Xiaomi, and I wish that
Same.
Xiaomi could just use
Same.
just stock OS. That would be just beautiful phone.
I hate MIUI. As Sarah remembers, I said Xiaomi is beautiful and it's amazing. Scrap the software on it. Otherwise, my current phone, I honestly wanted a flagship for once. I wanted the latest and greatest flagship, and I got the S22 because it was little. And well, some of you know how my S22 journey went. I have to give back my first one after a week to send it back to Samsung because when I turned it on, it overheated during the setup and gave me the high temperature warning thing. One day I was just listening to Spotify and after 2 hours it just turned off because it was too hot.
That's odd.
The battery was gone. I had to charge it like 4 or 5 times a day. And then the speakers went. They're gone. I don't know.
There was something wrong with that particular unit.
apart from that, everything
Now
else
and
is
then
all
it
right.
happens. Yeah, now and then, you find things like that happens. I mean, even with vehicles and things like that.
Yeah,
We had
that's-
one odd thing like that with our Durango back in 2005 when we got it, and it's just one of the 4 that they told us 4 vehicles were like that, and so they had to replace some things in there. It happens.
No, that's
phones as
fair,
well.
but I got my second one, okay? And the only reason why I'm not using that to go on Google Meet right now is because the microphones are toast.
Yeah, so
Since
I
I
don't
got
know
out
what's
of the
going on
box.
there, but yeah, but that has been a great Android journey story. Thank you guys for coming on to talk about this. I know this is very important to me and to our listeners too, because it helps people know what to go for and what to avoid and other things of that and what the pitfalls are, especially if you go with XYZ or whatever. And so, battery also is another part of the mix in there. And I think that Sarah's A53, if I'm not mistaken, I think that thing rocks a 5,000 milliamp battery on there. So it's a great phone. If you use it wisely, you probably have maybe over 2 days of use on there. Depends on how you use it. So my Pixel 6 Pro, I get over 2 days of use, and I couldn't be any happier. So
only because
love
it's
it.
so heavily optimized and no app is allowed to do
No.
anything at all.
Oh,
Like,
please.
Yeah,
if I
that's
turned off
true.
all the app
Nothing
battery
runs on Fisher
optimization, it lasts
Price.
about an hour.
Oh yeah,
It's a joke,
nothing
really.
runs. Yeah, nothing runs.
Nothing
You know?
runs on the Fisher
Yeah,
Price. That's
Exactly.
right.
It's a
that's coming
joke.
from
Absolute
a
joke.
jealous bone.
No, my Sony has crap battery life because I let my apps run, and I know it has crap battery life, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
That's just a
5,000
trademark.
milliamp is great. I think that any phone with 5,000 or more will give you a lot of days to use your phone. And this is the first time that I have a phone that works like this outside of my Pixel 5a. It's another phone with that battery, even though it's not as much as the Pixel 6. I think that one is 4,600 or whatever milliamp, but I still got like 2 days of use on that thing.
Yeah.
So I like it.
It's the first time you've had an optimized phone since last year when you bought an optimized phone.
I'm always worried about no, you're good. I'm always worried about mine though, because like for the last 2 or 3 nights, about 8 o'clock or so at night, it's been down to like 15%, and I don't
told you to
know.
restart it.
Well, it be that maybe you're playing too much of a gaming.
I do
those
play a lot
casino
of
games. Those are battery killers. See, so I don't do gaming on my phone. I'm not a gamer. And maybe that's why, I could last, almost 3 days on a single charge, and that's even charging it to like 84 or 85%. I never charge, beyond that, and it lasts me
Charge
that
them
long.
overnight. We
Yeah,
just
I
charge them
don't
overnight. It's
do that.
easier.
So, but thank you guys for coming on to talk about this. We appreciate that. And, like we've always said again and again, if you want to come in as guests at any time, let us know, because we want our listeners to participate and, be part of the podcast whenever they feel like doing so. So thank you for coming on and talking about these great journey stories.
Austin, where can people find us?
For people to locate us, they can email us with their questions or feedback or comments or recording submissions to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. They can browse our website, blindandroidusers.com. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/blindandroidusers. Subscribe to our mailing list, Blind Android Users, plus subscribe at groups.io. The links for Telegram and Twitter, Clubhouse will be in the show notes with all the other links. So that is it from us this week.
That's it from us this week. We'll see you all next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening to another clip from the Blind Android Users channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you're notified of every new material that we upload. Thanks again for listening to the Blind Android Users channel.
Yeah, right there. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Now I am in the backyard. So the recording you are hearing right now is from the backyard. And I'm gonna sit down here on a chair, on a lawn chair. Ah, there we go. Again, this is recording from backyard. All right, it's kind of getting chilly out here, so I think I'm gonna head back into the house and I'll stop the recording. But that's it. That's the 4th of July here in our little town, and I hope you guys are having a good one too. Better go have my tea. There's a war zone, guys. Wow, amazing. Oh, wow. I'm going into the house for sure. Unbelievable. Wow. my sprinklers are coming on, so I'm gonna head into the house.